Hey, so we got a second game now. The turn order has been thrown, well, changed as expected. And this time we have Ace at the starting, me still second, and Jin and Alex both third and fourth and third, respectively. This changes the dynamic of the game a bit because Ace had the advantage of being first, so he's the one setting the space of tempo, and all three of us are kind of like catching up on what will happen and how it should happen. Alex and the Jin being last also gives both Ace and I advantage, since them being last helps us keep up in tempo, since they have like the faster, not faster, but the burstier decks after Ace. They are more consistent than Aces, though. That's the biggest difference. So Ace starts his turn by cracking Arrow in Mesa for a Badlands, drops a Memnite into Kraum. Yep, exiling. Sorry, he exiles a Cabal Ritual so that Kraum will only add black. And then Mox Opal already have a Spectacraft online. And turn 1 he has 3 mana, interesting. And that's 3 for Imperial Recruiter. Wondering what he will get. I wonder if he will get. And gets a Dockside. Shocker. We are not surprised. Our favorite goblin in the format. So on my turn, I drop a Tropical Island and a Mox Diamond, discarding a Wooded Foothills, leaving double blue open or blue-black open for any other interaction that I might need. So Alex drops Mana Crypt into City of Brass, into a Chrome Mox, dropping a Heuristic Study, which is an amazing turn 1. So it's still the question that why did he drop everything into a known Dockside? So there's this discussion on why he dropped the Chrome Mox. Since it was one less treasure. It's the discussion that why he did all that. It's fun. You always have to drop the turn 1 Heuristic Study. Heuristic Study turn 1 is when it's most backbreaking, when it's at its best. So I don't follow him for that. That was the correct play. I'm guessing he kept up the blue for interaction, so props to him. So Jin drops a Mana Crypt, feeding the fish, well, Heuristic Study, and passes. This will represent either Opposition Agent or, Hull Breacher. Now we go to Ace's turn, that he has the potential of 3/8 mana. Well, it'll be 6 because of Dockside, drops land, and probably will get Scrubland, since that's the only dual he can fetch with Polluted Delta. And that's what he goes for. Another consideration to have done on his previous turn was to just play Tymna from Ace, so he can just start swinging with Memnite. But maybe he won't have the mana for Imperial Recruit this turn, or he can just play Tymna this turn and have 2 attackers, which that would be better actually. He can even do Dockside, sack 1 treasure for Tymna, and swing at us, and keeping everything open, keeping 4 mana open, which is huge for interaction. He only has 2 cards in hand, but he will go back to 4 cards. Well, 3, since he needs to cast Dockside. So he taps the Chromax for black, since he exiled the Cabal Ritual to that. And probably either one of the duels. He has a Mox Opal that can create any color of mana, so it's an issue. Yep, so here's a Dockside. And there's a Heuristic Study trick on the stack. And pays 1, so Alex doesn't draw. Good. So he makes 5 treasures. That's the token and adds a die for it. That's the 5 treasures. Will he continue with a Tymna? I'll probably do that because with only 1 card in hand, I don't think that's good enough. That he needs to rebuild. Oh wait, he has 2 cards in hand, my bad. So he had 3 previously. So taps the Mox Opal and 2 treasures. And plays Tymna. Yep, that's Tymna. He needs to rebuild. Another second consideration because Heuristic Study trigger on the stack. This is the discussion on what should happen. The discussion here is between the players is if Ace should give Alex 2 cards so he can recast. Oh, sorry. So he can also cast Jeska, which allow him to go to Pound Town. But the counter discussion is what's the point on doing it now when maximum he can do 3 damage at this point? One of the arguments that Ace is doing is that he doesn't want to lose his treasures in case someone else docksides and he needs to crack them in response. It's a valid response. It's a valid argument that he could have, considering that all players in this pod play red and they play dockside. So one of the arguments that Ace is saying is that if he pays for it, then none of us can pay for it. But it doesn't make any sense since we will get punished anyway. So we're discussing that what should happen. Okay. Oh, but with Heuristic Study on the stack, there's a Hull Breacher. Oh, this changes the whole dynamic of the game. Because now there's Heuristic Study is pointless. It just got completely stopped. That's amazing. And we all both pass on the Hull Breacher. So then Ace declines to pay for the Heuristic Study. Makes complete sense. Alex also missed the Heuristic Study on the Hull Breacher, but it happens. A lot happened on that turn. And then Ace cracks all the treasures for Jeska. And let's see what happens. Now he needs to swing. Doesn't matter. We all play at NOS. We all do our own stuff. Okay. So Jin's plan was to Hull Breach in response to the Tymna trigger. That was pretty good. That was pretty decent. I guess that's why Jin was forced to drop the Hull Breacher. Okay, and then swings with the Imperial Recruiter and the Memnite at Alex for 2 damage. End step, I Lindul's Vault, looking for anything. I'm not paying for Heuristic Study because why would we pay for it? The first 5 are pretty bad, so I keep paying 1 life and keep digging. And keep going for another 5, paying 1 life. At this point, I'm looking for something that will give me a lot of advantage. Obviously, it cannot be Heuristic Study or Simon Library because of Hull Breacher. So there are some cards, some combination of cards that will make this pretty interesting. Let's see what I find on this one. We need to remember that there's a Jeska in play. So if anything happens, Ace at any point in his turn, obviously, can -2 Jeska, kill her, sending her back to the command zone, and bursting the Hull Breacher if he really wants to draw cards. It's a pretty interesting play which he could do. It's actually an incentive for me not to play Najeela at this point, because he can chew for one-us on this spot, on this board. It's one of the things that we need to be mindful of when playing against Jeska, is that he can easily do a 3-4-1. 3-4-0, in quotes, if you count that it's a commander, so it's probably like 3-4.5, since you would need to drop the mana for it, but you don't lose the card, so it's kind of like a tempo loss in a sense, but your 3 cards combination with that ones, it doesn't matter. At this point, we lose Alex for a minute, but he's back really fast. Then I order the top 5. And go to my turn. I wonder what I will draw. So then I dropped a Taiga into another dark side. So Ace plays of sacking all his treasures paid off for him. At this point, he would have slowed him a lot. So with 4 treasures, well, actually it's 7, but I'm gonna go to 4 and play Najeela. This is actually a mistake because of what I said. Jeska being alive is bad, but I believe it's because I didn't have any other available play, so I need to do something to force him to use Jeska. He is probably already incentivized to use Jeska on the Hull Breacher, so maybe my turn should have been Dockside pass, but hindsight is 2020. So since Alex doesn't have die, we had to roll for his mana crypt, but since Jin rolled first, it was odds, so Alex do damage. And Alex decides to YOLO main phase Adnos. Ace is basically kind of useless at this point, especially for his colors are not really that good. Jin decides to force will that, exiling a Fierce Guardianship, which is huge. So he had both Fierce Guardianship and Hull Breacher to play on the open 3 mana. Interesting. Okay, so Jin rolls for his mana crypt, takes a bolt to the face, and draws a card. So what will happen from this one? There's still a Hull Breacher. So here's the weird thing about this board state. It's kind of like an impasse. It's kind of like the board state. If you look at it, it's locked because Ace has all the advantage in creatures. I have the eventual win in Najeela. But we all know Najeela's gonna be swinging all day at Alex and Jin because of how their decks work. Obviously, Alex's threat level is much lower now since he already cast an Adnos. That will still remain true for Jin, that he's still a threat. The board the stalemate continues because Jin has Hull Breacher that's keeping both Alex and Ace from really making powerful and explosive turns, since they can rebuild with those cards and keep going with the gas. So actually killing Hull Breacher is a bad idea. Unless Jin drops a wheel, will eventually happen. He's playing Grixis, there's a lot of wheels on that deck. So it's probably that you don't kill Hull Breacher. So Jin drops Impsil, looking for answers. Probably a wheel at this point. Considering I have 4 treasures and I didn't have no change in the response, this would have been huge. But I do know that the top 4 of my deck are pretty good cards, so I'm not really sorry about it. Hmm? So Jin's looking for a card. So Impsil goes to the top of his deck. It's not DD. If it were DD, then we will be really afraid because he can do a lot of things. Here we have an argument on Alex is saying like, yeah, you need to kill Najeela, you need to kill Najeela, but it's like it's part of the argument of the stalemate of the board that if we remove any of the pieces, then the game breaks wide open, and Ace already has the answer for it in his board, in Jeska. So we can see where this is going, right? So here we have the argument of saying, like, if the board state is broken because Najeela's gone and Hullbreacher's gone due to the Jeska, then what will happen is the game will give the advantage to Alex. He has heuristic study and the Kraum that he should be dropping, and just can just say like, okay, drop Kraum and say go, and it's a pretty strong play. He has a lot of rebuilding power. Considering everyone is low cards in hand, it will be a really strong turn for him. And it's one of the arguments that we are trying to make AC, that killing Najeela and Hullbreacher, we knowing that you have 3 cards in hand, sure, but it's a really bad idea. So Ace is gonna drop off for a second, looking for a charger for CPC, so he'll be back soon. So the deal is that he cannot cast, Alex cannot cast Kraum because he doesn't have red. So all his lands produce black and red because it's a swamp and City of Brass, and that the Kraum Mox it's a reanimate, so he cannot cast Kraum, but he can easily cast Tevesh and just say plus Tevesh, make 2 Trolls, say go, and set the board state for the following turn. Okay, so Ace decides he's gonna -2 Jeska. Gonna kill his own Dockside, the Hullbreacher, and Najeela. Okay. The board state's broken now, and Ace is allowed to and he's gonna Sevines the Dockside. Good turn, good play, clean play. But before that, I'm gonna Fierce Guardianship the Sevines because it's way too much mana. It's 4 treasures from my side that I'm not gonna crack. I need them to keep pressure, keep the tempo. So I'm gonna stop that. And then I'll proceed to get slapped. Pretty hard. Well, no. I'm just gonna block my Dockside. So he's gonna send the Tymna at me, the Memnite, and the Recruiter at both Alex and Jin. So he's gonna draw 2 cards from this. He basically doesn't lose life and draws 2 cards. Okay, then with that he passes the turn. And after my turn, drawing another card, a mysterious card. I played a Savannah, I believe that is. Tapping 5 on Najeela, leaving 3 mana open. I had to replay her because threats are low from my deck and I needed to stick around. And with that, I pass turn, leaving 3 mana open with any colors. So we go to Alex turn. Alex turn. Jin rolled for Alex turn for crypt, and he rolls an even, so he doesn't take damage. So what will be Alex turn? Now he has a Heuristic Tally enabled that I refuse to pay for, so Alex drew a card. And with that, he drops a Luxury Suite that will allow him to produce red mana, red and blue, so he can actually cost Kraum now. We're still thinking about what his turn will. So, oh, Alex drops a Mean Betrayal for 3 mana. That's pretty good. There's 2 Docksides on the graveyard. 2 Docksides. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is gonna be pretty dumb. So he's So he's gonna cast the Dockside from Ace when the Mean Betrayal resolves. But in response to the Dockside, I'm gonna Hull Breach. So at least trying to stop him from doing any crazy shenanigans. But I played the Hull Breacher in response to the Mean Betrayal, so he didn't have the Force of Will from Jin that will allow him to counter my Hull Breacher. It still, I don't think, will do much because there's a Sevines, there's an Imp Seal, there's a Force of Will for protection. That's literally free. So I have another Dockside, a Fierce and Limdals. Limdals, yeah, but with Hull Breacher he cannot draw cards. Yep, so he plays my Dockside, giving him up to 9 treasures, I believe, in total. Yep, so he's gonna go to 9 treasures. So, okay, so we have the treasure count there with 9 treasures. Those are Alex's treasures, not mine. Yep, so he sacks 2 treasures to kill my Hull Breacher. As you can see, so so what he does is he casts, uses 3 treasures for Jin's Hull Breacher, and then casts his own Wheel of Fortune. If you notice, I separated the Hull Breacher from the other pile because that's a different thing, a different pile from what Alex has available. So it's a minor detail that people should be taking note of, since in this deck this didn't make a difference, but in other turns or other games this will actually might come up. But hey, Alex made it. We just scooped to the Hull Breacher wheel because there's no point in keep going. Just the board state will be too behind from us to keep up. So Alex wins. Good for him.